Let a few people get in here, and we're going to have a interesting talk about mechanisms of propaganda. A topic that propaganda is really one of my favorite topics because it's everywhere around us and it impacts literally every part of our lives. Yet, the school system doesn't teach propaganda, right? And most people don't have the slightest idea of how propaganda works or where it comes from or how to identify it. So I'm very passionate about teaching people about propaganda. And part of the reasons I write, Caleb, thanks for being here. Part of the reason I write the Cubs to Bears children book series is to introduce children to not just that there is propaganda, but to the mechanisms through which propaganda operates. Because once people understand the mechanisms through which propaganda is pushed on society, they're able to identify it, and they have a sort of intellectual self-defense in which they can protect themselves from the people who wish to manipulate them. Red Hero, thanks for being here. So today we're going to talk about propaganda, identifying it. We're going to have a case study of a very identifiable instance of propaganda and how to teach it to your children. And to me, coming from my background as a historian, and got my flame here, got a candle going, a little smoke in my face. But as a historian and someone who writes the Cubs to Bears children's book series, we love a short king. Well, anyway, who writes the Cubs to Bears children book series, talking about propaganda is always fun. By the way, if you have any questions related to your homeschool or anything I'm talking about, you want to chime in, feel absolutely free. I am more than happy to interact with you and my crowd, answer your questions. Homeschooling takes a community, and that is what you want to chime in. Feel absolutely free. I am more than happy to interact with you and my crowd, answer your questions. Homeschooling takes a community, and that is why I am here. Speaking of which, by the way, I have a very exciting show for you tomorrow. Paola Brown, who... unstable connection, lost connection, come on. Unstable connection, lost connection, come on. I'm back. Paola Brown, who has a homeopathy curriculum for homeschool students about teaching children about herbs and how to make remedies to treat sickness. She actually saw one of my videos I made about her curriculum. Someone got us into contact, and I'm actually having her on the show tomorrow. So I'm very excited about the show I have set for tomorrow. But I wanted to go over a real example of propaganda with something we're seeing, a big story, right? So there is a basketball player, and I'm going to talk in hobo code because I don't want to trigger the almighty algorithms, but there is a very famous basketball player who plays for the Brooklyn Nets, right? He, one of the most decorated basketball players in the world. He's been a NBA champion. He's played for the Olympic team. He's been an Olympic champion. Max contract, everything that comes with it, the shoe deals, everything he has. And he's recently come into the public conversation because he refuses to comply with a certain medical mandate, right? So there's this very famous basketball player, and he's refusing to comply. And that's not what's interesting to me. I mean, what he's giving up is interesting to me because it takes a great deal of courage, right? He was set to make $33 million this year, which for any of you familiar with gematria, that's a very interesting number of its own, on its own. But he's set to make $33 million this year, and he's willing to give that up. At first they said, oh, you can't play in home games in New York, right? So he was going to give up about $16 million. And then they said, you know what? No, if you're not going to submit to the authoritarianism of medical tyranny, then you can't play in any games in any city, right? So now they're saying you're going to have to give up $33 million. And for this individual to give up $33 million, give up social status, give up everything that comes with being an NBA player, and then to face a really immense amount of social shame and ridicule from the corporate media, from the newspapers, right, from the sports pundits on ESPN. We're going to talk about them today. It really takes a courageous person to take that stand. Now, you might say, oh, well, I don't agree with him. You might say, oh, well, this guy's an idiot, right? Well, he's not a doctor, right? All these arguments people make, but just on its face, there is something noble, there is something courageous about a human being who is willing to give up $33 million, be put out on an island, face relentless social shame because they're willing to take a position, right? So how has the media, right? And ESPN is such a good example. Kyrie, the basketball, the person, I'm trying not to trigger the algorithms here. Kyrie Irving. So he's giving up all of these things because he won't do this medical procedure. So the question is, how has the media treated him? And then it's really interesting because you could see a clear night and day compare and contrast to how they treated Colin Kaepernick. And I'm going to talk about one person specifically who you could really see the difference, and that's Stephen A. Smith. So when Colin Kaepernick took a very similar stand, now again, I don't care, I'm not talking about their positions, I'm talking about the way propaganda works, right? You could agree with Kyrie Irving, you could not agree, hold on, this smoke is, I got this fire going here and it's just, come on now, blowing in my face. Right? You could agree with their position, you could not agree with their position, right? I have my thoughts on their positions. I think anyone who follows me probably knows my thoughts on their positions, but that's not what this is about, right? This is about analyzing behavior, because people who are honest are either for a behavior or against a behavior. And if they have a different stance on said behavior based on the position someone's taking, then they're probably full of it. So when Colin Kaepernick took his knee, right, ESPN and the sports media, bravo, look how courageous he is, he's a real hero, he's willing to give up all of this money, he is willing to give up all of this prestige and face social pressure, but in reality he was getting tremendous praise from the people at ESPN being controlled by Disney, right? He was getting all this praise from ESPN. Colin Kaepernick is a hero. Colin Kaepernick is taking a stand against injustice. He's standing for social justice. You have these black people and they're being discriminated against from police officers based on the color of their skin. And look at him standing up for these people that are facing social injustice, that are being discriminated against. Colin Kaepernick is such a hero. Well, now let's compare that to Kyrie Irving, right? Because Kyrie Irving is giving up $33 million. He is facing social shame. He is facing public backlash. He's having his name dragged through the mud, right? Right? But Kyrie Irving is doing that because, in his own words, he believes there is a segment of the population, those who aren't comfortable capitulating to medical tyranny, right? I'm trying to speak around the algorithms, but who are refusing to get certain procedures that are being pushed on all of us. He's saying that these people are facing social injustice, they're being discriminated against, and they don't have a voice in a public position standing up for them. So Kyrie comes out and he says, I'll be that voice. I'll give up $33 million and I will stand up against this authoritarianism, face this social injustice, because why? Because I believe that it's wrong and these people are being discriminated against. I'm looking forward to buying your books. Heard about you from Heidi St. John. Yeah, that's really cool. I heard a lot of people say Heidi St. John was putting out good vibes toward me. Let her know, if you're on her stream or you know her, that I would love to have her on my stream. I'd love to talk to her. I think that's really cool. So Kyrie Irving, in many ways, and this is why I say, I know we have our thoughts on their positions, right? But in many ways, is doing the same exact thing that Kaepernick did, right? In his mind, there is perceived social injustice. In Kaepernick's mind, there was a perceived social injustice. And both of them were willing to essentially give up their careers to take a stand. And, whether you agree with them or not, I have my thoughts about it, but I gotta say, I respect that. Someone who's willing to give up millions of dollars to, whether I think they're right or wrong, to stand for a position, right? You have to look at that objectively as an outside observer and say, okay, you know what? Regardless of what I think about the guy, there's a great nobility in that, right? There's a great nobility. Just like I really respect people who, working for a plumbing company, right? Doesn't matter. And they're saying, you have to get this injection or we're going to take away your livelihood. Like, I know I got friends who are being fired because they refuse to submit to tyranny. And when I see that, I say, man, like, I know that man now. Like, I moved to Carolina recently, and I recently have become good friends with someone else from this area, and they're giving up their job because they won't submit to tyranny. And I know them very well now. That's a man I'd like to be in a foxhole with, right? Right? That's a man I could trust. That man stands by his conviction. Well, I see what Kaepernick did, and I see what Irving did, and I think, okay, regardless of how I feel about their position, if they're on your side, they'll stand by you, right? They're willing to give up millions of dollars. They're willing to give up everything that goes along with that. I could respect that. So that's my position, right? And like, for those of you that have watched my videos, like, how I feel about Black Lives Matter, like that movement, right? Like, I'm not the biggest fan of that movement, right? You know how I feel about critical race theory. I'm not the biggest fan of that stuff, right? All this stuff that I don't have the same view on police relations with the public as Kaepernick, right? But I'm objective enough to say, okay, well, look, the man was willing to stand by his position. I respect that. And when he did that, ESPN was all the praise. Man, Kaepernick, look at him standing for social justice, standing up for the little man, the minority that has been discriminated against, that has faced institutional, they would say institutional racism. Well, now I look at Kyrie Irving, right? And he's willing to give up $33 million and he's not getting the praise that Kaepernick got, and he is being bombasted by ESPN. He is being ripped left and right, his name dragged through the mud. Look at Kyrie Irving, he's selfish. How can he give up on his teammates? Yeah, I know, maybe he has this position, but he really needs to be professional. His teammates are counting on him. What a selfish person, and what an idiot. This guy, he's not a scientist. Really? Because you handle Kaepernick one way, and you're handling Irving a completely different way. And when you look at it objectively, what they faced and what they're willing to give up, it's actually very similar, because Kyrie Irving, is he not standing for a group of people that are being facing social injustice? People who are losing their jobs because they are refusing to get certain procedures, right? People who are facing discrimination. They're not allowed to walk into grocery stores or into certain sporting stadiums, right? They're being made into second-class citizens. He's not standing up for those people. Dare I say it? People who are facing institutional discrimination. I'm talking about Kyrie Irving and the stance that he's taking. Facing institutional discrimination, I'm talking about Kyrie Irving and the stance that he's taking. So Kyrie Irving is clearly standing up for a group of people who right now, I don't think there's... Thank you. I also consider myself cool. Well, there is no doubt that Kyrie Irving is standing up for a group of people that are facing institutionalized... I lost the connection. There's the connection. That are facing institutionalized discrimination. So, then when you see the importance of what I'm trying to bring up is when you see the difference between how Kaepernick was covered and how Kyrie Irving is being covered, right? You say, okay, well, what's going on here? Well, the difference is that the people at the top, ESPN is owned by Disney, right? The people at the top, the people at Disney, the orders from Mount Olympus were that Black Lives Matter was to be not only supported but relentlessly pushed on the population. And anyone who goes against that movement will be said, thank you, I appreciate that, Cheryl. Anyone who goes against that movement must face ridicule and social shame. So that's what happened. But Kyrie Irving, right? Well, Disney gives the opposite order, right? The order right now for anyone who goes against this medical authoritarianism is that they must have their name dragged through the mud. They must face social shame, right? And that's the difference. So whereas objectively, if you look at Kyrie Irving, objectively, if you look at Kaepernick, what they did was very similar. But the media's response, right? Right, and I agree with one of their worldviews. I don't agree with the other one's worldview. Right? What do you mean, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the similarities between the stance that Kaepernick and Irving took, right, regardless of their worldviews, and the media's reaction to that response, right? I got your 6, brother. Thank you. Good man. He's explaining, right? And the media's reaction to that response. And the difference was that Disney, the orders from the top, and you have to understand, there are... Wow, Cheryl, you are so cool that you're interrupting my conversation because you don't like what I'm talking about and you're leaving. Well, just take yourself and just... There's like a million, literally a million other people talking on the internet, and you can just go and listen to someone you like, you know? Like, there are tons of people on the internet I don't agree with, and I don't show up in their chat and try to troll them, right? Like, you do you, bro. Like, I let them do them, right? Because there's a certain type of personality. Like, if you spend your time focused on things that you hate, listening to people that you don't like, that's on you. That's your internal world. Like me, I try to surround myself with people that are trying to empower other people, that are trying to uplift other people that I generally agree with. And if I am listening to someone I disagree with, I do it in a respectful way because I understand they have their opinion. Now, I might say, I disagree with you for X reason, but I don't act like a douche about it. Like, I mean, get lost. Don't be here. Cool, girl. So anyway, they're objectively looking as an outsider, and again, I don't agree with Kaepernick's position, right? Like I might agree with Irving's positions, but when you look at them objectively, you say, okay, they both took a stand. They were both willing to sacrifice their career on the altar of a position that they believed in, right? They were both willing to give up millions of dollars and all of that life, right? Everything that comes with being a professional athlete. So they're very similar in that respect. But the way that ESPN responded to what they were doing was the polar opposite. So why is that, right? Because ESPN, right, they came out, they said, you have to stand for this black man with Kaepernick. Just got all your books, thank you. I'm actually going to relate it back to my books because this whole talk is on the mechanisms of propaganda. So ESPN said you have to stand with Colin Kaepernick because he is a black man standing against social injustice, a group of people that have faced, from police officers, this was their argument, institutionalized discrimination. Okay, well, Kyrie Irving is a black man giving up the same things as Colin Kaepernick, taking a position that he is standing up for a group of people who are refusing a certain medical treatment, and saying he's saying that they don't have a voice because these people are being what? They're being institutionally discriminated against, right? You don't do the procedure, you lose your job. You don't do the procedure, you can't go to certain sporting events. You don't do the procedure, you can't go into grocery stores. You don't cover your breathing hole, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? Is there any doubt that this group of people is being institutionally discriminated against? Which the entire premise behind the movement that Kaepernick was standing for, right, was their argument, right? I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it. I'm just saying this is their argument, was that a certain segment of the population, a minority, the people who are going against these mandates allegedly are a minority. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people who agree. So they were saying a minority of people facing this institutional discrimination. Well, ESPN's going to stand for that. Just got all your books. Thank you. I have your books waiting in my cart. Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas. And make sure you download the lesson plans that come with the books. I make them myself. So the orders at the top from ESPN were that we support Black Lives Matter because that's part of the political movement that their leadership supports. Now, you have to understand, ESPN is part of the Disney company. And Disney, right, we're not just talking about Mickey Mouse, right? Disney is one of the six most powerful corporations in media. There are 6 corporations, I believe it might be 5 now, that control 90% of the corporate media, right? So Disney is an extremely powerful conglomerate that is a very important, and ESPN is a very important strategic position in terms of winning the culture war and propagating the messaging that Disney wants put out, right? So, like, the culture war, right? That's, right, you use sports to indoctrinate people. You use late-night comedians, right? Why are all the late-night comedians, why do they all have the same position, right? Well, because they work for these 6 corporations, and there's people at the top of these corporations who say this is the agenda, and the people that are employed by these corporations will support the agenda. You say, oh, well, how could all these people do that? Well, I'm going to tell you how. All right, so, like, you're saying that all these people in the news media are corrupt? Yes. You're saying that all these late-night comedians are corrupt? Why, yes, I am. Thanks for asking. You're saying that all these people in Hollywood are corrupted? Why, yes, I am. Thank you. So, let's look at Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is a news broadcaster, and he works for ESPN. And when Colin Kaepernick took his position, Stephen A. Smith was, I bought them for my son, but I also got them for me. Real Kaepernick took his position. Stephen A. Smith was, I bought them for my son, but I also got them for me. Relearning a lot, thank you. I'll get to Fox, because that's an interesting case study. Right, so Stephen A. Smith, Colin Kaepernick took his position, and he comes out and lost connection, unstable connection. All right, so Stephen A. Smith comes out and he says that we have to stand by Colin Kaepernick. As a black man, that's the position I have to take. Colin Kaepernick has faced, the black man has faced institutional racism, institutional discrimination, and Colin Kaepernick is standing up against social injustice. He stands for social justice. And Stephen A. Smith, as a black man, I have to take that position. And if you don't take that position, you're not a black man, and if you're a white man and you don't support Black Lives Matter, it's because you're racist, right? That was essentially the position that Stephen A. Smith came out having, right? And was really echoed by everyone at ESPN. I'm excited to get them. Thank you for the... Yeah, yes. My book. I'm going to get to the books, but... So, that was Stephen A.'s position. Well, why is he taking such an opposite position on Kyrie Irving? Also a black man, clearly being discriminated against, right? They're telling him that he can't work unless... A black man in America being told that he can't work. A black man in America being told by his white billionaire boss, right? Because I'm thinking Stephen A. Smith here, right? Kyrie Irving is a black man in America being told by his white billionaire boss that he can't work unless he is injected with a chemical against his free will. Kyrie Irving is being told, a black man in America is being told that he can't work, being told by his white billionaire boss that he can't work unless a vaccine, I said the word, algorithm, don't hate me, is injected against his will by a chemical, right? Right? I mean, this is some horrifying stuff. But Stephen A. Smith, right, he's not saying this is a black man being discriminated against. No. He's saying that Kyrie Irving is selfish. He is selfish. His teammates are counting on him. The fans in Brooklyn are counting on him. You didn't say Colin Kaepernick was selfish. You didn't say the fans in San Francisco were counting on him. I hope you have the best day, sir. You rock. Thank you. If America is so racist, why are 88% of illegal immigrants of color trying to get here? Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I don't buy into those narratives. All these narratives are nonsense. My point is that this is a great case study in how propaganda works and why Disney and these corporations are so corrupt. So Stephen A. Smith takes the polar opposite position on Kaepernick and Irving, even though what they did, regardless of your position on their specific views, what they did is very similar, right? They took a stance allegedly against the grain, and it cost them millions of dollars and their job, right? All right, so why such a different position? Well, Stephen A. Smith has a position working for ESPN, right? He is their number one broadcaster. He has their primetime show, their primetime morning show. He is the guy that gets all of their NBA games, all the big games, right? Stephen A. Smith is their guy. And he gets paid $8 million a year. He gets all of the prestige and the social status. He gets to travel around the country, be at all of these prestigious events, the NBA Finals, right? He gets the big interviews with the athletes when there's controversy, right? He's the guy. ESPN's, you are our guy. Well, he already admitted on camera that none of ESPN's employees could work there if they didn't get the medical procedure, right? So now he admitted that you can't work there if you don't get their medical procedure, and that he's not about to give up. He said this, I'm not about to give up my money. I don't mess with my money. Well, if Stephen A. Smith comes out and he says, you know what, I support Kyrie Irving. He's a black man in America standing up against a minority group who won't get this medical procedure, being institutionally discriminated against, right? Do you think Stephen A. Smith would still get their primetime show on ESPN? Unstable connection, hold on. All right, do you think if Stephen A. Smith sided with Kyrie Irving, working for Disney, who mandates all of its employees must get this procedure or they can't work there anymore, do you think he would still have his position as the top the top morning show, right? Or do you think they'll give that to someone else? Maybe they'll give it to Max Kellerman, who he had fired, right? So if Stephen A. Smith comes out in favor of Kyrie Irving, well, maybe you don't have that show anymore. And if Stephen A. Smith comes out in favor of Kyrie Irving, maybe you don't get the NBA Finals anymore, right? Maybe you don't get that big interview anymore. So it's been made very clear to Stephen A. Smith that if he takes a certain position, he loses what? He loses his money, he loses his social status, and like Kyrie Irving, right, he's probably going to face social shame. That he's being a lunatic, that he's going against the science. Are you against the science, right? So these commentators, whether at ESPN or Fox News, we'll get to Fox News or CNN, they are controlled through money, social status, social shame, and sometimes outright corruption. Often outright corruption, but it's not always. You don't have to have everyone to be corrupt. You just have to understand the mechanisms used to control them. Yeah, I mean, Julian's done some amazing things for this world, so it's a shame. But, so you say, someone might say, oh, no, in spite of all that, Stephen A. Smith, he's just following the science. It's not because he'd lose his position. Well, I'm glad you made that argument. Because ESPN also employs, and this is how you know what I'm saying is true, also employs a sideline reporter, a newscaster, named Rachel Nichols. And Rachel Nichols had in her contract that she would get the NBA Finals games. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive, ESPN. So she had a contract that she would get the NBA Finals games. And ESPN was pressuring her to give up that position to a colleague who was black because the whole Black Lives Matter thing was going on. Colleague who was black because the whole Black Lives Matter thing was going on, right? And they thought, they're trying to support that position. They're trying to support that position, right? That's the Disney's Mount Olympus. Disney said, we support that position, and we should have a black person in this role. So Rachel Nichols sees this, and she's upset about it, and she gets one of her private phone conversations gets leaked. And in her private phone conversation, she says, she's just speaking the truth. She says, this is outrageous. I worked my whole career to get to this position, right? These people are obsessed with their status, their prestige, their position, their money. And this is outrageous that they're giving my position away to a woman because she's black. Well, and Rachel Nichols is saying, well, I've faced discrimination too, right? The Victim Olympics. I've overcome discrimination. I had to get this position as a woman, and now I'm losing this position because I'm not black. So what she said was, one, her personal opinion, and two, obviously accurate, right? It's just whatever. It's just obviously true. I'm not saying that reporter, I don't know anything about that reporter. For all I know, they're really good at their job. She's a black woman. For all I know, she could be, I don't watch her, so she could be great at her job. But the reason they were taking Rachel Nichols off that post is because they were going for that type of change. So she gets caught on a hot mic, essentially, or some sleazeball releases her conversation. And what happens? Hell rains down on her from ESPN. And all of her colleagues, her friends, who know what she said is true, these snakes in the grass, they all come out and they publicly drag her name through the mud, working for the very network that she works for. They drag her name through the mud. Rachel Nichols, this is racist. This is the type of thing that sets America back. How dare you, Rachel Nichols? How dare you? What slime buckets that they would throw their colleague under the bus when they know what she's saying is true. Again, I'm not saying that her colleague, who also threw her under the bus, who got her position, doesn't I'm not saying she's not talented. By all means, she might be more talented than Nichols. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that they all know what she said is true, right? That race played a factor. Whether it was the number one factor or not, it played a factor in her being replaced in the NBA spot she had, right? Right? And all her colleagues who are supposed to be her friends, right? They throw her under the bus because they know if they didn't throw her under the bus, well, they would be going the same route as Rachel Nichols. It's not that hard to control the people at these organizations because they're just like Nichols and just like they're all controlled by their prestige and their status. And that's why Nichols, knowing she believed what she said and what she said is true, she came out like a whipped puppy. I'm so sorry that I said that and I was wrong and I didn't really mean it and I was just upset because a more talented person who clearly deserved my position has taken my spot. Like a whipped dog, they put her out there. And all of her colleagues let it happen. How humiliating for Rachel Nichols. Right? It's like a sick humiliation ritual they put her through. But it not only whipped her into her place, that you don't go against Disney. Every single person working at ESPN was whipped into place. You don't go against the official line at Disney. Right? So then when this stuff happens with Kyrie Irving and Stephen A. Smith, they're all whipped into place. Right? And that is how these institutions are controlled. By the way, I stream every day at 12 noon. I wanted to do a talk on propaganda today. Tomorrow I will be having Paola Brown on. She is the creator of a homeschooling company, a homeschool curriculum, which teaches young children about homeopathy, good health, herbs, and how to actually put remedies together to improve your health if you do come down with some type of sickness. Interesting. So everyone should tune into that. Paola Brown, she's very talented. I stream every day. My niche is education, but I do like to talk about the world because, quite frankly, people have a longer attention span for stuff going on in the world than education, but I like to use it to talk about education. So when I talk about this level of propaganda, right, and I talk about my daughter really into, you're going to love, tune in tomorrow. Paola it's all about hands-on, harvesting herbs, putting the herbs together and making concoctions to improve your health. I'm from the Northeast. I'm from New York, but I moved down south recently, and it's so much freer here. It's nice. So I wrote the book Cubs to Bears, right? Because this is all about teaching children the mechanisms through which propaganda operates. So I wrote the book Cubs to Bears, Operation Mockingbird, and the Church Committee. And in that book, it reveals the mechanisms, right? Like the news roosters, right? The roosters report the news, and some of them, they basically sell their soul. Some of the roosters do it for food. Some of them do it because they're flown around the world, right? They're telling lies for material, for social status, for prestige, right? For privilege, right? There's news organizations flying you all around the world, pumping all this money into you. St. Lawrence County, New York. Interesting. I'm going to have to get your books. I could definitely learn a few things. Any more Cubs to Bears books coming out? My son loves them. Yeah, I have 2 coming out in the next 2 months. One of them is on the dangers of taking free things, and the other is on nutrition, which I'm very excited about. Love the books. I've been showing my friends, and they're blown away. Yes, please do. When you spend your time bashing the beast system and the corporate news, I don't get any outside advertising, so I'm a one-man marketing machine. That's why at the end of all of my videos, no matter what I talk about, I plug my books, because no one's doing it for me, so you do what you can, right? And I really have, I've been contacted by Congress people, multiple Congress people. I have a woman running for Congress in Washington who's been talking about me on her streams. I was just invited to speak at the Constitution Party National Committee meeting, which was so cool. I gave a speech in front of the heads of the fifth largest political party in America. We're all packed into this room, and I gave a whole speech about personal responsibility and taking back our country. That was this weekend. I've really had so many great opportunities, and I'm very grateful. I've been very blessed, and even this stream, like, I hope you guys come in every day at 12 noon. Like, I know I talk about education a lot, and like sometimes like people don't want to hear about education, but the truth is there's nothing more important, and there's no single greater way to take back our country than to take back the education system. And if you gave me full control over the education system tomorrow, you put me in charge of the Department of Education, and I was educating every child in America tomorrow, within 20 years, we would have complete control of our country. There is no single greater way to take control of your country than to take control of the education system. And our controllers understand that. And I don't understand, well, I do understand because people are shills, but more people in positions of influence should be doing things to take back the education system. And that's what I've been doing on this stream every day. So please tune in every day. Please tell your friends about what I'm doing. I know sometimes when I'm talking about, like, today we're going to teach children about writing. Like, I know that's not that exciting, but it's not the exciting stuff that takes back your country. It's that grassroots change. And that's why I advocate, I teach people to put family first, get married, have lots of children, honor your wife, honor your husband, homeschool your children, raise them with your values, and teach them how to be free, right? I tell people to get out of debt, not because I don't have financial literacy. In fact, I've done very well for myself, but because I see what's happening in the world. And, you know, if you have a mortgage right now, your boss might be able to tell you, you know, you can't work unless you submit to medical tyranny, right? So we need to rethink the way we live. We need to stop keeping up with the Joneses and start being humble and free, right? So I'm teaching people how to win, but the truth is that most people, they don't want to hear how to win. They just want to see, oh my God, look at this liberal hypocrisy. Look at this liberal hypocrisy, but they don't want to point at their own life, right? We have all been brainwashed for years, right? But we don't have to let the next generation be brainwashed. Veronica Young, thank you for being a great mom. Thank you all for being a great mom. Like, in my opinion, the homeschool mom of 5 is the modern day Rosie the Riveter, right? Because your country is calling on you. We need you to marry, have lots of children, and homeschool the children. Because if demographic replacement is the game, well, there's another way to fight that game, and that is to follow the Bible and to be fruitful and multiply. Be fruitful and multiply, and homeschool your children. You know, so I wrote Operation Mockingbird. That's correct. I'm 57. I'm just now learning. I'm a homeschool grandma. Your country salutes you. Yes, yes, and again, my friend. So Operation Mockingbird and the church committee. So in the book, like, it's all about the mechanisms they use to manipulate people. So, like, early in the book, a news rooster reports that Black Bear is a bike thief, right? So he's rolling his bike, and it's like a real close-up angle, and then the news reporter's like, look at this bike thief. But then later in the book, it shows the wide-angle lens, right? And you can see he's not stealing the bike. He's walking it into a bike repair shop. So he wasn't a bike thief at all, but the camera angle was making it look like he was a bike thief. The mechanisms of manipulation. And by teaching children the mechanisms that institutions use to manipulate them, you can better prepare them for the world they're going to be growing up in. My private homeschool community is Homeschools Connected. You can sign up using the promo code TOGETHER for $10 a month. It supports me, and you get access to all my curriculum research as well as myself in the community. Great resource. You should definitely sign up for Homeschools Connected. You want to schedule a homeschool consultation, you do that through my website. whatever it might be. I post the replays on a 1-day delay to the Classical Learner YouTube page. You know, support my stuff, people. You've literally made my whole day just by being live on here. This is exactly what I needed. Every day at 12, like I said, tune in, even if I'm talking about more boring stuff. Like I know, you know, sometimes I'm talking about teaching children the scientific method, teaching children history, teaching children public speaking, right? But like, this is how you win the future. This is how you win. You don't win Ben Shapiro. Facts don't care about your feelings. I mean, it's nice to point out hypocrisy, but after a while, you have to stop pointing out hypocrisy and actually showing people how to win, how to build, right? Because if your enemies, those who wish to demoralize you, are taking over the news media, taking over social media, buying up property, buying politicians, taking over the government, they're building, and all we're doing is complaining. Well, who do you think's going to win? You got to build if you want to win, people. You got to build. And how do you build? It's so simple, it's biblical. It's like they've been telling us the whole time. You reject this culture, reject hookup culture. I was dumb as they come, people. I was the man at the bar. I used to walk into the bars and people would literally, you'd hear people in the bar screaming my name. I'd walk in the bar, Brett Pike. Just the whole people all over the bar echoing my name, going crazy, buying me shots. The bartenders, hey, how you doing? We're drinking, we're having a good time. I was hanging out, hooking up with girls, right? Doing all the one-night stand stuff like, oh, you're so cool, bro. You're so cool, bro. I wasn't cool. I was asleep at the wheel. I didn't know about how the world worked. And God found me. God found me because when you put family first, right? My wife is all that matters to me. I reject that culture so much that I haven't watched pornography in years because the Bible says that if you watch pornography, you might as well gouge out your eyes, right? How can I look at my wife the same way when I'm looking at other women? Not to mention that most of those actresses are victims of human sex trafficking, and if you watch that, you're supporting that the stuff they promote is disgusting. Like they promote step siblings, right? Like this stuff is disgusting. It's all designed trafficking, and if you watch that, you're supporting that the stuff they promote is disgusting. Like they promote step siblings, right? Like this stuff is disgusting. It's all designed to corrupt the family unit. Like they know by putting that out there, that leads to more molestations and stuff, right? They know that. This stuff is satanic. Don't ever. And why do I talk about this stuff? Because young people need role models that show them a different way. So I don't do that garbage. I don't watch that garbage. I honor my wife, right? I have children. Be fruitful and multiply. Have as many children as you can have. And be a great husband, a great wife. Be a great father. Show children better role models. Celebrate young people that are mature and that wait until they get married. Like I don't have to spend my time banging on people that live a different way. Like I could just prop up people that are doing it a certain way. Like Tim Tebow was a great role model for young people, right? He should have been celebrated, which is why the media went so hard at him, right? They were, oh, he's so bad. Why? Because you had this prominent athlete who could get with any girl in the world abstaining. He was a great role model for young people. They need that. They're relentlessly pressured to engage in promiscuity, right? Marry young, have family, have lots of children, homeschool your children. Support what you love. Support the people that you love. Like I give money every month to Owen Benjamin, Unauthorized TV, Pockets of the Future, Crow 777 Radio, Tom Burnett, just so many others, Richard Grove, Tragedy and Hope, because they're building, they're fighting back. Like support what you like instead of supporting Netflix and all this garbage. Boycott Walmart and buy mom and pop. Like I did a video last week where instead of getting my garden supplies from Walmart, I got them from a local garden center. And yes, it cost me more money, but that creates a battery. Like that money goes into my community, right? That person becomes less desperate. They put that money back into their community, which is my community. Like it's personal responsibility is how we win. We get married, we have children, we start families, we homeschool them, we buy mom and pop, we have in-group preference, we start our own businesses, we hire our friends, that's how you win. That's how you win, but that's not what they tell you. They want you to complain. So, all right, people, this has been a lot of fun. Come back tomorrow at 12. I'm having Paola Brown on. She is an incredible woman. I can't wait to have her on. I look forward to talking more about education, I never joined your live, dude. You rock. Keep up the good work. Yeah, come back every day. I'm trying to grow this. I'm trying to, I want to get to the point where I have hundreds of people live. My message is powerful, okay? And, I know it's sexy to listen to people pointing about hypocrisy, but, it's really about how to build. So I'm going to talk more about what's been happening in the world because I think that sells more in terms of getting eyeballs. But it's really my message of how we win that is powerful. Right? And you are my group. If you want to post my stuff, if you want to create YouTube channels and take clips and post my stuff, do it. Post clips. If you want to take clips of this and post it, if you want to duet my TikToks, do it. You want to promote my books, do it. We need to have in-group preference. We need to help each other build because that's how you win. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun, but I do have to run. I think I got a text message. I think a neighbor actually needs some help, so I'll probably drop what I'm doing all day and go help my neighbor. So, all right, guys, I will be back tomorrow. Freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day, and I'll be here every day at 12 o'clock to earn it.